Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The July 10th, 2025 meeting of the Medford Planning Commission will now come to order. Kaylee, can we have a roll call, please?
Rachel Bennett. Brad Bennington.
Here.
Larry Besco. David Culbertson.
Here.
Mark McKechnie.
Here.
EJ McManus.
Here.
Jared Pulver.
Here.
Jeff Thomas.
Here.
And Jim Wallen.
Here.
Roll has been taken.
Thank you, and we have a quorum. Tonight's agenda is available on the city's website for those watching from home. The order of business this evening will consist of consent calendar and written communications, minutes, public hearings, and reports. Item 20 is the consent calendar and written communications. Have the commissioners reviewed the consent calendar? And if so, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the consent calendar and written communications as submitted.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Kaylee, can we have a roll call, please?
Mark McKechnie.
Yes.
Rachel Bennett. David Culbertson.
Yes.
EJ McManus.
Yes.
Jared Pulver.
Yes.
Jeff Thomas.
Yes.
Brad Bennington.
Yep.
Jim Wallen.
Yes.
We have
Thank you.
7
The motion
yeses.
passes. Item 30 is the minutes. Have the commissioners reviewed the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting of June 26th, 2025? And if so, are there any corrections to be noted? Okay, seeing none, the minutes will stand as submitted. Item 40 is oral requests and communications from the audience. This is an opportunity for members of the audience to address the commission on matters that are not on tonight's agenda. If you wish to speak, please come forward to the podium, sign in, and tell us your name and your concern. Okay, seeing no one come forward, we will move on to public hearings. Items 50.1 through 50.3 will be conducted as quasi-judicial hearings. Agenda item 50.4 will be a legislative hearing. If you plan to testify, please listen carefully to the following prepared statement regarding the procedural rules that govern these hearings. The statement will be read by Mr. Alan Moreland, Deputy City Attorney.
I'm going to explain the rules that govern these hearings. Before the hearing begins, city staff will give a report. The report will list the criteria that govern the city's decision. After the staff report, the hearing will be open for other speakers. The applicant will speak first and may ask for rebuttal time. Following the applicant, any other interested person will be allowed to speak. Any testimony, argument, or evidence you give must relate to the criteria listed in the staff report or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulations that you believe apply to the decision. If you fail to raise an issue or do not give the commission sufficient information so that the commission and any party can respond, you will not be able to appeal that issue to the Land Use Board of Appeals. If you do not raise constitutional or other issues about any proposed condition with specificity so that the commission can respond to that issue, you will not be able to bring a court action for damages. Before the hearing is closed, anyone who needs more time to present evidence must ask for more time. If you ask, the hearing will be continued or the record will be kept open and you will have at least 7 days to present additional written evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Moreland. In order to proceed through this evening's agenda in a timely manner, except at the Commission's request, applicants giving testimony will be given 10 minutes to present their application. Individuals who have comments about these applications will be given 3 minutes to respond, or 5 minutes if they are representing a group or organization, and 5 minutes will be given to the applicant for rebuttal. Item 50.1, SV 25-141, consideration of a request for the vacation of unimproved street rights-of-way for 2 50-foot wide segments of Belknap Road located between Garfield Street and Center Drive, and then east of Center Drive to the terminus of the subject Belknap Road right-of-way. The subject rights-of-way are within the CH zoning district. The applicant is CEG Holdings LLC. The agent is CSA Planning Limited. The planner is Dustin Severs. The applicant has requested to continue this item to the July 24th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. If there is anybody in the audience that has come to testify on this agenda item, please come forward now and the Planning Commission will hear your testimony at this time. Please keep in mind, however, that your questions may be answered at the July 24th, 2025 meeting. There will be no decisions made this evening on this agenda item. So with that said, is there anybody that wishes to come forward and speak on this application? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to continue SV-25-141 to the July 24th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Kaylee, can we have a roll call, please?
Jim Wallen,
Yes.
E.J. McManus,
Yes.
David Culbertson,
Yes.
Jared Pulver,
Yes.
Jeff Thomas,
Yes.
Brad Bennington, Mark McKechnie.
Yes.
We have 7 yeses.
Thank you. The motion passes. Next agenda item is 50.2 LDS 25-130 and ZC 25-131. Excuse me. Consideration of a request for a tentative plat approval for a 51-lot residential subdivision. The site consists of one parcel totaling approximately 53.06 acres, together with a zone change request to remove the EA overlay from the development area. The site is located north of Hillcrest Road and east of Hidden Valley Court and Hemlock Drive and is zoned SFR2 and SFR6. The applicant is Cogswell Limited Partnership. The agent is CSA Planning Limited. The planner is Stefan Rohnfeld. All right, as a reminder, this public hearing was previously opened and left open from the June 26, 2025 meeting. So does any commissioner have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact to disclose regarding this application? Okay, seeing none. Excuse me, does anyone in attendance wish to question the commission as to conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts? Okay, seeing none, can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, and good evening, Commissioners. I am Kelly Aiken from your Planning Department, standing in for Stefan this evening, so please forgive me, I'll say that already. So starting off with, as we
You gave him the
always...
night off, huh?
I'm sorry, what was
You
that?
gave him the night off.
Well, you know,
He took the night off.
we're pinch hitting tonight.
All right.
This is the Comise place, there we go, okay. Mouse, there we go. Okay, so we did receive a new exhibit that was forwarded to you this afternoon, an email from Ted and Valerie Engel. So we did share that with you and forward it this afternoon. As Chair, you mentioned, this item was continued from June 26. You did take some public testimony. There was testimony from Mr. Hayden, whose comments are also included as Exhibit V in your staff report. And we also heard from Mr. and Mrs. Dubois, I think it is. They were concerned with the future development and how it relates to their property. They're located east of the subject application, and they were also concerned with pedestrian access. Authority and criteria. So the approval criteria for land divisions are found in Land Development Code Section 10.202. They have been thoroughly addressed in your staff report and have been found to either be satisfied or not applicable in this matter. This is kind of unusual. We don't usually see a zone change application to remove the EA overlay on its own. Usually it's accompanies a zone change application. So there is a specific approval criterion for that request, and the applicant did demonstrate compliance with that criterion. These are type 3 quasi-judicial decisions, and the Planning Commission is the approving authority under the code. On mouse, there we go. So where are we? We are at the Hillcrest Orchard. So we're on the north side of Hillcrest Road, just west of Foothill. The subject in property is shown in red. It's just over 53 acres. And the area that we're talking about is going to be south of, I think it's Lazy Creek that runs through here. So south of that, at the very southeasterly corner of that property. The comprehensive plan designation is urban residential. The zoning designations are SFR2, which is pretty unusual to see. SFR2 can only be applied to areas that have steep slopes, and it's in this lighter yellowy kind of area along the easterly property line. And the balance of what we're talking about is zoned SFR6. And it's a 51 lot subdivision that's before you. So I wanted to start a little bit with some project history. Most of the Hillcrest Orchard was brought into the urban growth boundary back in 2018. It was part of a 1,600 acre expansion and is identified on this map here, kind of in the center. It was the square donut hole in the middle of the city, identified as MD4. The northwesterly portion of that square, okay, I don't like this map, sorry everybody, was not included. That's still outside the UGB and outside the city. So you may recall that each of the expansion areas were required to provide specific amounts of land for employment, housing, and open space. The subject MD4 includes commercial, single-family residential, multifamily residential, and open space designations. So taking a little closer look at the urbanization plan that was approved for MD4, it was approved back in November of 2020 by City Council, and it resides as part of our comprehensive plan for the city. The approval for the Hillcrest District includes just 33.6 acres of open space, which is about 15% of the overall planning area. It is required to develop a minimum of 746 dwelling units and extend 4 adjacent streets. They're shown on the dashed lines here. Additionally, the approval included a requirement to construct a greenway along the northerly bank of Lazy Creek within this subject area. And so here's a table just kind of summarizing what was required as part of the urbanization plan. So taking a look at the subdivision plat itself, there are 3 pieces of this. The first is at the very south end, Phase 1A. It contains 29 single-family residential lots. Phase 1B will finalize that connection to Hidden Valley Court to the subdivision to the east, and includes 22 single-family lots, as well as 5. You can see them on the 5 in the SFR2 zone. They're pretty big lots. And then on the north side in the orange line are 2 reserve acreage tracts that total just right about 37 acres. There we go. So I just wanted to point out a quick typo on this slide and the next. We included the word townhouse in both of these slides, and that was not intended. These are just regular detached single-family lots. And shown in the tables, you can see that the proposal meets the density standards and also the development standards for lot area, width, depth, all those good things. I want to talk just a minute about access. So the proposed layout does match the approved urbanization plan, the circulation plan that was approved as part of that process. There are 3 cul-de-sacs off of Hidden Valley Court. Hidden Valley Court will connect to Hillcrest Road to that established neighborhood adjacent to the east in 2 phases. So phase 1A is the lower arrow, and then it will be completed, that connection, as part of phase 1B. That will be really useful because the neighborhood adjacent to the east only has 1 exit out on Tamarack to McAndrews. Finally, pedestrian access way will be provided to Hillcrest Court for block length purposes, and a connection to the Greenway via an existing bridge near Hillcrest down here on the west end of the project. And finally, the dotted line above shows a greenway that will be installed with future development. And finally, with that EA removal, the applicant has certified that the agricultural use has been terminated on the subject property, and that's the 13.42 acres, and is requesting to remove the overlay at this point. And staff supports that request. So a couple things before I get to the final findings. The zoning on this area was improved in 2022, and it was conditional. There were a couple different things. One was, one of the conditions was related to sanitary sewer constraints. The applicant has demonstrated that the development flows won't exceed the amount that requires additional downstream improvements. So Public Works supports the removal of the restricted zoning designation for the proposed development area. The zone change also had a trip cap. So the applicant did provide some trip accounting for us. And they did demonstrate that the 51 subject lots don't trigger mitigation at this point. Future development will require traffic mitigation as outlined and described in the zone change. Finally, the floodplain manager noted that the applicant provided a flood study with a letter of map amendment that indicates that the flood hazard area is actually located within the banks of Lazy Creek. So no special flood prevention related requirements are recommended by staff. And finally, just a reminder of the public comments that we've received so far. So staff did review the applicant's findings and recommend the commission adopt the findings as they were submitted. And staff is recommending approval. I wanted to point out the bolded bullet here, the removal of the restricted zoning overlay. We did not include that in our initial staff report. It was embedded in the Public Works report. We just didn't pull it out. So we wanted to make sure that you were aware that that is staff's recommendation. And that does conclude my report, and I'm happy to take questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Yes?
Yeah. So, good report, and it appears that the applicant has satisfied all the applicable standards. Are there any applicable standards that have not been met?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? So just to be clear, we are removing the restricted zoning and the agricultural overlay, and that's it for the zoning action on this, that we've already, the land itself has already been rezoned SFR2 and SFR6.
That's correct. It already has the zoning designations. We're removing the sewer restriction. We're not removing the RZ overlay because there's, the trip cap still exists.
Oh, I
So
see.
there were two limitations.
Oh, this, okay,
There were two.
removing the sewer.
Yeah. So the RZ overlay or designation will remain on the
I
property.
see. Okay, thank you. And then while you have this up, just one
Get
little.
a little closer.
This would be on the cul-de-sac that is furthest to the west at the, what's the, yeah, the big parcel at the end there? Is that, what's going on with that? Do you know?
I'm thinking that that storm will have to have Mr. Warner clarify for you.
Okay. All right. Maybe we'll find out. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. And can we hear from the applicant or their agent?
Civil plan, I guess, since you asked about the, could be like 70. Oh, okay. We'll find it.
I guess we've asked a question they can't answer.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Raul Warner with CSA Planning Limited. Our offices are at 4497 Brown Ridge Terrace here in Medford. We're here on behalf of Cogswell Limited, the owner of the subject property, and really all the property in the Hillcrest District urbanization area, MD4. This is the second urban development project in the Hillcrest District since it was included in the urban growth boundary. Currently, there was a partition that was done in a site plan approval for hardware store that's going in on the west end of the property. This is the first residential subdivision, and we're transitioning over from there's a subdivision to the east, Grayson Heights, that had some streets stubbed out many years ago, and it was developed, but the property, subject property was zoned EFU, and it wasn't in the growth boundary at the time, so those stubs didn't provide any practical outlet for the properties, but they were preserved for, well, today, as we come in with urban development. This project will connect that neighborhood down and provide really its second outlet to a public street, because there's over 100 homes in that Grayson Heights subdivision. They only have one way in, one way out. It's to McAndrews Road. So this will be a great access improvement for those residents. There'll be a second street extended in a future phase to the north. There's a Hemlock Drive that's also stubbed out, and that'll connect over, and there'll be a bridge built over the creek to provide that crossing in the future in accordance with the adopted concept plan. Again, this is 51 residential lots are proposed between the Grayson Heights subdivision and Lazy Creek. Our initial submittal, we had a smaller area because it was the approach taken was that we'd have a separate urban reserve tract or reserve area tract for the common area and just do it all at once. And we were going to put an easement there for the stormwater. Got some feedback from staff saying the stormwater facilities really need to be in the current phase that's being platted. So we extended that southwesterly boundary and then all the way up to the north to coincide with the center line of the creek. And there are 2 common area tracts there, one to be managed by the homeowners association as just passive open space between the creek and the lots there. And to the south is a common area lot, which will include the sewer treatment facilities and detention. And there's a pathway there as well, a shared use path that will connect from the westerly cul-de-sac to an existing farm bridge over the creek there that's separate from the Hillcrest Road culvert crossing. So there's already a pedestrian crossing there. We use it for farm tractors and farm access currently. Incidentally, further north, just outside this subdivision phase where Hemlock stubs out, there's also a culvert crossing on the subject property. In the future, that'll be another pedestrian connection. So speaking of pedestrian connections, we have an access way that is being platted as right away from the easterly cul-de-sac to Hillcrest Road. And you may or may not be aware, but the Grayson Heights subdivision also had a dedicated walkway just along the east property line and an agricultural buffer yard there. So I think the public comment, the initial hearing was there's a question about whether that was going to go where or not. We have no control over that. It's not on the subject property, so that's entirely up to that subdivision. If they want to come in and modify it, they'll have to come to you for that. The cul-de-sac to the north, it starts to approach that 15% and higher slope, and in the cul-de-sac, we're actually in it. We had asked for some modification of street standards pursuant to the hillside ordinance. We'd asked for the entire right side or the east side of that mod circle to be not require sidewalks along there, just because it's shallow bedrock too, so you only have about 3 feet to the bedrock, and then with the slope starting to transition in there, you're going to have some retaining walls and things like that just make it a bit difficult, and those lots on the east side are going to need as much buildable area as possible. Again, hillside ordinance is directed to, slope mitigation. The feedback we got from Public Works was that the portion of the street for which we're requesting the modifications needs to actually be in the 15% slope, even though it's adjacent and very close. Slope is a measure of change, so it's not exact where it starts and begins, but the cul-de-sac, the east half of the cul-de-sac is clearly in there, so I did, let's see. Did you get that on the record, the little illustration I provided? There's a condition in the Public Works report saying the modifications will be allowed in the 15% slope area, and just to be clear about how to meet those conditions later, we wanted to fix exactly where the city agrees that 15% is, and which part of the street we can have that modification. So I'd asked that the 3 lots at the north, which are, if you can put that up, that would be helpful. So adjacent to lots 47, 48, and 49, that includes the flag lot. Those are clearly in the 15%. Just for the record, we want to ensure that the modifications would be allowed there. And the right-of-way width to be dedicated along that portion would be a little bit less. We'd adjust it down to 38 feet from center along that portion of the cul-de-sac. And the rest of it would be the normal 45 standards. So on the final plat, you'll see a little notch in the dedicated right-of-way. I got a response from Doug Burrows. It sounds like Public Works is on board with that, and I'll let them answer that. But those are the modifications I think we're all in agreement on. Again, the original request was just not to have the sidewalk at all on the upland side on that stretch. We'd still, if the Planning Commission would agree to approve that, we'd still like that. But as you know, ADA ramps on slope are really tough to design. And our engineer says if we have to put the sidewalk in on that east side all the way along to serve those, 4 lots up there, we're probably going to be requesting design exceptions at the public improvement plan stage. So, but that's just a summary of our modifications request. Other than that, I'll stand for, there's an email reference. I didn't get a copy of the email. It sounded like traffic. We did the mother of all traffic studies when we did the zone change. I think we studied 2/3 of the intersections in the city of Medford and provided mitigation for about half of those. That gets triggered at certain stages. We haven't triggered them here. This will be the lowest density, the least intense residential development in the district due to the slopes and the creek setback. So this is really by design. We've intended to gradually transition from sort of the existing SFR4 on the neighborhood to the east, and as we get down towards the town center, the densities increase and we start getting some commercial mixed in there as well. I think that, the question about why the EA is a standalone here, it's 230 acres in the Hillcrest district that has historically been a farm use. If we had removed the EA overlay at the time, or not had the EA overlay put in place for all of it at the time, then the property couldn't be farmed at all. The best way to manage land in the meantime, the highest and best use, is just to continue farming. That way you don't have just a big dry field that constantly has to be mowed for fire mitigation. So it'll continue to be farmed, and as these developments move forward, we'll be requesting the EA overlay be removed from the subject application portions of the property. I think I'm close to my 10 minutes.
Well, if you're done, we'll see if we have any questions. Okay.
And I'll reserve time for rebuttal if needed.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of the applicant? Down that way, this way? Not? Okay. I'm not seeing any questions, so.
Mr. Chair, before you
Yes.
move on, if I could, I do have a copy of the Exhibit W. So, Mr. Warner, you could use it for rebuttal if needed. Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. All right, so with that, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak regarding this application? Then please come forward to the podium. Make sure you've signed in legibly. You can do that after you speak. And tell us your name and your address, and offer your testimony for consideration by the commission.
Hello, my name is Ariel Love, and I live at 3845 Annette's Way in Medford, which is one of the properties that abuts the planned development. First of all, I would like to draw the attention of the commission to the fact that the planned development is still being farmed. It was farmed today. It's been farmed every year I've lived next to it. The farming has not ceased, so whatever certification the applicant gave that they have ceased agricultural activities is incorrect. I work from home. I live at a property that directly abuts the development. I see it farmed day after day. So I request that this commission deny the request to remove the EA overlay because the condition that the property is no longer being farmed has not been met. Furthermore, Oregon regulations generally require that a property not be farmed for 10 years before it is developed for residential use. This property has certainly been farmed in the last 10 years, and I would request that this commission abide by that and require that all lands in the development lay fallow for 10 years before it is developed. If the commission decides to waive the 10-year requirement, then I request that they require the applicant to provide an environmental impact study. I am greatly afraid for my health, and I know my neighbors share this fear, that there has been a lot of pesticide use on this farm over the preceding decades, and substantial earth moving is required to build this development, and it could expose aerosolized pesticides to the people like myself in Grayson Heights that are living up against the subdivision. Second of all, I would like to oppose the statements that have been made about the additional extension of hemlock being helpful to those in Grayson Heights. Myself and my neighbors do not consider it to be helpful. In fact, we're deeply afraid that this development will increase fire risk for us. The escape from Tamarack is currently sufficient. The issue is not the number of escapes from our neighborhood, it is the density of individuals trying to escape in the event of a fire. And we have already witnessed in evacuations recently that we cannot get out of our neighborhood due to this number of people downhill from us trying to get out of their neighborhoods, and that we are delayed or potentially prevented from evacuating in a timely manner due to that density. When I called the Planning Commission to raise this concern, I was told that they do not have to concern themselves with fire risks to the residents of Medford. I find that shocking. And I know that some of my neighbors who lived through the Paradise Fire similarly find it shocking. I hope that this commission takes fire safety seriously and will consider how the density caused by this subdivision, together with all other developments in the area, will impact the safety of our residents. We rely on you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak regarding this application? Please come forward, make sure you've signed in by the podium, and tell us your name and your address, and offer your testimony for consideration by the commission.
Good evening. My name is Wyatt Banks. I live at 3845 Annette's Way in Medford. I share the previous concerns about the agricultural activity in this plat, and prepared a little, statement as well. I'd be deeply saddened to see property like the historic Hillcrest Orchard replaced with a subdivision. There is plenty of other available real estate to develop that wouldn't involve plastering over a historic landmark. Ample amounts of open farmland interspersed throughout residential areas is a part of the Rogue Valley's charm and character, and every year we have less and less of the farmland that is such an integral part of our agricultural heritage. This balance of residential and pastoral land makes the valley unique and desirable. Growth is wonderful, but if we eliminate the charm of our region, people will stop coming. I moved here a few years ago for the beauty of the area, as did many of my friends. The Hillcrest Orchard is one of the local gems that attracted me to the area. My family loves living next to it, and our neighbors feel the same. Why build over such beauty when there is other available land? Our neighborhood has already been heavily developed over the last few years, and I fear that the proposed subdivision will exacerbate problems this development has caused. Replacing Hillcrest Orchard with this subdivision would increase traffic, noise, and light pollution. I ask that you deny the Comise Place at Hillcrest District subdivision proposal. The land should remain EA. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, not seeing anyone. Does staff have any additional comments?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner, commissions have any additional questions for staff or council? I have two and so one of those is if we somebody want to address whether or not this land is actually farmed now.
I think Mr. Warner should do that in rebuttal.
Okay?
I did want to point out, Mr. Chair, Tanner Farrington, our fire marshal, is in the audience this evening, should he have any questions about those
I'm
comments.
sure we will.
Thank you.
And then, also, what about the claim that land needs to stay fallow for 10 years?
That's not, but there may be something statutory I'm not aware of. That's not a criterion for the city of Medford. So it may be something for EFU land that remains outside the urban growth boundary. I'm not aware of that.
Okay, but it's not a criteria for land inside the city?
It is not.
Okay, thank you. All right. Engineering, have any comments? You look like you're anxious to tell us something.
Good evening, Chair, fellow commissioners. I'm Doug Burrows with the Public Works Department. I just wanted to address Mr. Werner's comment about the slopes. And so we do have some language in our report for that section of mod circle, wherever there's 15% or more, then the hillside ordinance can apply. And we absolutely support that. We feel like code supports that. And so for that portion of the cul-de-sac that's within that 15% slope area, we're fine to having that section reduced. For the parts that aren't, I don't think we feel like the code would support modifying a section of street that's not within that slope. So I just wanted to kind of concur with what Raul was talking about.
Okay, well, so does that mean that if we've got lots of, I'm looking, it's 51 through 47 kind of line the uphill side of that the sidewalk would either stop or the roadway section would vary or something? Would that...
Well, the only section that really is kind of falls within that slope is the eastern portion of the cul-de-sac. So the rest of the street should be built to standards, as the hillside ordinance doesn't apply to that section. So yeah, there would be a portion that would potentially not have sidewalk because of the steep slopes. That would be around the cul-de-sac.
So essentially it would be, as I look at this thing, the uphill side or the east side of that circle from Hidden Valley going north and around to about lot 46 would not have a sidewalk, and then maybe from 46 to the west side of that would? Is that?
No, I'm just talking about the cul-de-sac. I don't know if we have this
Oh, you're just
up on
talking
here.
about the very end cul-de-sac? not
Yeah,
the other-
the cul-de-sac was really the only portion of the roadway within the 15%
So the
more slope.
other lots, which would be part of, whoops, we lost the picture here.
Thanks, Kelly. Sorry about that. Oh, thanks.
Okay, so the cul-de-sac itself would
So
not
the
have a
blue-
sidewalk, but half of lot 46, or, let's see, 51, 50, 49 would, is that?
Yeah, so if you're looking at the illustration, there's
Yeah.
a portion of the cul-de-sac highlighted in red. That's clearly within the 15% slope.
Okay,
and
so
that's-
that would not have a sidewalk?
That
but-
would most likely not have a sidewalk.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
Yep.
thank you.
you're welcome.
All right.
Any
Fire
other
have any
questions?
comments on this one?
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Tanner Farrington, your fire marshal. I just wanted to address some of the fire safety concerns. And Kelly, I was going to see if we could pull up Google Maps possibly, just to kind of look at the overall area and where Tamarack connects. So while she's pulling that up, I wanted to address a couple things that I think are important. So this development will have, between phases 1A and 1B, will have over 30 dwellings. So there's a requirement to have 2 access points at the point that more than 30 dwellings are constructed. So for this development, for them to do that and meet the remoteness requirements, meaning those exits have to be far enough apart, it would mean 2 access points off of Hillcrest, which would push one of the access points close to that curve to the east, which would create a sight distance issue and traffic concerns. So that's one point I wanted to make, and then I'm going to zoom in here real quick. Okay, and then where the mouse is Tamarack. So that's the connection at East McAndrews, and I believe there's about 130, 150 homes in this development already. So obviously, the requirements for this development are based on this development. However, the requirements on this development to have 2 access points at more than 30 homes, having that connection to the east is going to benefit not only this development, but the existing development to the east. And I appreciate the concerns expressed about the number of people that need to evacuate, the amount of time that takes. That's absolutely a concern during wildfire. But one thing I want to point out here is when there's a wildfire, typically there's winds blowing embers. So embers is kind of the primary source of ignition. So if you will imagine, there's a lot of embers coming into this area. Those embers are landing, and it's lighting small fires in multiple areas. It's not just one wave front of fire. There's a lot of embers landing, and they'll start spot fires, and those will spread to homes, and then those will carry embers, and so you have this kind of cascading domino effect. So the situation that can create is kind of where that mouse is, where Tamarack hits McAndrews. If those embers land into those homes near that entrance, that single exit becomes blocked, and so having 2 access points becomes absolutely critical. Almeda, a lot of other fires where you have fire deaths, it's because there's not enough access points. That's a flow issue, but it's also having access points that are separated. So if that entrance gets blocked, there's another way out. So personal opinion, it's going to provide a significant benefit to that community, that this development will eventually have a connection to it. And that's all I have for you, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Any questions? Not seeing any. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Warner, you care to offer some rebuttal?
Thank you.
Well, you turned off your mic.
Hello?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Raul Warner with CSA Planning. Well, the Google Earth map is up, as you can see. The area being taken out of the EA overlay is the triangle between the creek and the existing subdivision and Hillcrest Road. It's not farmed, it's grass. It gets managed, grass gets cut. That's not farming. It used to be an orchard block. It's not orchard anymore. I would say kudos to the owners of this property who have held it in farm use for many, many years past the time where it really wasn't. I mean, it's been completely surrounded by the city at this point, and it has been for a long time. The decision to bring it in the growth boundary has been made. The decision to rezone it to residential has already been made. This is not farm zone property that is being subdivided. It is SFR 6 and SFR 2 zoned. The EA is an overlay that allows farming to continue just to the point at which you want to move forward with urbanization. At that point, the city doesn't want farming to continue. That's the policy. We can't claim it to be a non-conforming use that can be continued. So the requirement is you have to commit to not farming it, that portion that you're going to develop. And I don't know all the policy behind it. I expect maybe there is some issue with people getting the value increased by rezoning it and then not making it available for housing, and that might have been a problem. But this prevents that from happening. One way in for a subdivision that you got to go uphill to get out, and one of the steeper graded roads in all of Medford, in the wintertime, it gets icy there. It gets closed. That's a dangerous situation. When that subdivision was done, I don't know why they didn't require a second outlet. There was one that was platted, but it never got built. It required a crossing over the creek in their subdivision to the east and north. Never got done. So we're actually providing that secondary access that they've needed all along. There's no wildlife habitat issues with this property. There may be some deer, but they're all around the residential subdivision up there as well, like in turkeys. Mm-hmm. I can attest to, we work right up there. Referencing some regulation that may exist somewhere without specifically identifying it doesn't give me an opportunity to properly rebut that. And so I would say It is incumbent upon anyone who's going to raise an issue that they say we're not meeting to identify what that is so we can address it and rebut it. That hasn't happened here. I'm aware of no law, regulation that requires us to wait 10 years after farming. In fact, there's a lot of Medford development that would have been violating that regulation because a lot of the properties in Medford that have been developed in the past decades have been on former farmlands. Soil, there's 1200C permitting requirement that we have to go through DEQ. DEQ is going to sign off on all that. We can't move forward with their permitting until we get a sign off on the land use that it can be subdivided. So that all happens. It's a different agency. It's not the City of Medford's Planning Commission's decision to make on that. And again, it's needed housing statute in Oregon, ORS 197, says you have to use clear and objective standards to review and approve subdivisions and also to deny them. You can't just use livability and those sorts of things aren't there. It has to be a very clear and objective standard that we didn't meet. And as we've demonstrated, all standards have been met, and we'd ask that you approve this application as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, excuse me, we will close the public hearing. And do we have a motion for consideration?
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the findings as recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare the final order for approval of LDS-25-130 and ZC-25-131 per the staff report dated July 3rd, 2025, including Exhibits A through W, as well as accepting the applicant's stipulations, as well as approval of the minimum timetable of 5 years for the subdivision to be developed in phases pursuant to MLDC 10.202 sub D sub B, as well as the removal of the restrictive zoning overlay related to sewer constraints and the removal of the EA overlay over the subject area pursuant to MLDC 10.360 sub 3.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this item? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I am in support of the motion, but in regards to the farm use, in the agent's report, it does state that farm use is in the reserve acreage. So just to address that, the farm use is noted by the agent and the owner, and that's in the reserve acreage. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Kaylee, can we have a roll call, please?
David Culbertson,
Yes.
Mark McKechnie,
Yes.
Brad Bennington,
Yes.
Jeff Thomas,
Yes.
Jared Pulver,
Yes.
Jim Wallen,
Yes.
EJ McManus.
Yes.
We have 7 yeses.
Thank you. Motion passes. No?
I personally observed that the farm use is not limited to the reserve acreage, and that it has happened on the area which is being built.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 50.3, ZC 25-149, a proposal to rezone 33.5 acres of land within the Autumn Hills Urbanization Plan area from SFR 00 to SFR 4 and SFR 6, along with the removal of the EA overlay. The subject area is located north of Delta Waters Road and west of Foothill Road and is within 3 contiguous parcels of land. The applicant is Pac Trend Homes LLC and Forever Trust et al. The agent is CSA Planning Limited. The planner is Dustin Severs. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact to disclose regarding this application?
Chair, I have a potential conflict of interest, so I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone in attendance wish to question the commission as to conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts? Seeing none. Dustin, can we have a staff report,
Sure,
please?
thank you. Dustin Severs with the Medford Planning Department. I'll be presenting the staff report for ZC 25-149. So your zone change criteria are found in section 10.204 of the Land Development Codes and shown on the screen here, or summarized on the screen, included in your staff reports. So begin by looking at the project summary. So the site is located in northeast Medford on the city limits. The subject site consists of 3 portions of vacant parcels. And the subject area is 33.5 acres. Look at our vicinity map. You can see it's highlighted with the yellow. This is our subject area. So it does overlap 3 different parcels. Surrounding area, again, it's right on the edge of city limits. So much of the property to the north and to the east is EFU Jackson County. To the west, you have previous phases of the Autumn Hill subdivision. You see some of it is built out. And to the south, you have some single-family residential subdivisions. Next slide shows some images of the subject site. This was provided by the applicant. You can see it is vacant land. It's currently just basically grass and weeds that are regularly mowed to prevent any kind of fire issues in the area. Site's general land use plan designation is urban residential. And its zoning is SFR 00, which is, as you know, is our holding zone that we apply to properties that are brought into the city from the county. There's also open space on the subject area, shown in the green here. And the proposal is to change the zoning from SFR 00 to SFR 4 and SFR 6. As you can see on the top of the screen here, roughly 18 acres is proposed for SFR 4, roughly 17 for SFR 6. And they will be retaining a little over 2 acres, which will remain to be designated open space. That's a total of about 33 acres of buildable area. Moving along, so look at the history of the site. So again, this is part of the Autumn Hills Urbanization Neighborhood Plan. It was approved back in 2020. At the same time, it was annexed into the city. It's about 160 acres. And this next image kind of shows the incremental development of the properties, both zone changes and subdivision approvals. So in 2021, this body approved phases 1 and 2. Much of phase 1 has been built out. The final plat has also been approved for phase 2. And then just in May of this year, this body approved phases 3 through 11 along with zone changes. So this is this portion to the south. So it's mostly single family residential lots, but also you have a row of townhouse lots. So with the subject request, the applicant is moving to the east and they're requesting a zone change. So the commission can find that the SFR, both the SFR 4 and SFR 6 are zones that are permitted in the urban residential GLUP designation. So there was a traffic impact analysis that was submitted with the application. So is some mitigation as required. This is going to be required at various times of the development with various mitigation, including traffic signal change at Crater Lake and Delta Waters, and also a northbound lane on Foothill Road. There's also some sanitary sewer capacity issues here. And I would like to point out that I did speak with Public Works staff this afternoon, and some of the conditions that were included in their staff report have been satisfied. Not all of them, so there'll still be a restrictive zoning. However, some of them have been satisfied, so the Public Works Department is going to provide an updated staff report. We don't have it ready for you tonight, so we'd like to include that with the commission report that we submit for here in a couple weeks. So in my motion, I will include that language. So we're including a restricted zoning will be applied to both properties, and that's due to both the traffic impact analysis, the mitigation is required, as well as the sanitary sewer capacity issues. If you have any questions concerning that, the traffic impact analysis or the sanitary sewer, I will be deferring to Mr. Doug Burrows with the Public Works Department. And finally, they're also asking for the EA overlay to be removed. The one criteria is the applicant certifies there's no longer agricultural uses on the property, and the applicant did do so, so that criteria is satisfied. So move on to our findings and our recommendations. So the commission can find that our 3 applicable criteria are satisfied. There are no locational criteria for SFR 4 or SFR 6, which makes it pretty simple. So with that, we do ask that you adopt the findings recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare a final order for approval of ZC 25-149 as per the staff report dated July 3rd, 2025. It includes exhibits A through Q, and we'd like to state that Exhibit N will be replaced with Exhibit N-1. This is a revised Public Works report that I mentioned earlier. It's going to remove some of those conditions that were added in their initial report. And also, we ask that you remove the EA overlay over the subject area. And with that, I can take questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dustin. Any questions of?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So with regard to the report and the testimony that you just provided, I sense a high degree of confidence that the applicant has met the standards that are applicable with some concern about the sanitary sewers. Is that about right?
That's correct.
And you have no concern that the sanitary sewer portion of it will be met with as things move forward?
Correctly. Ultimately, will be resolved.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So with regard to that Exhibit N, do we have a list of the limitations that were in Exhibit N and can now be removed by? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I can bring it up, and I'll have Doug come up, and he can point out which ones are being removed.
Okay.
What page number that is? 360.
Good evening, Chair, fellow Commissioners. Doug Burrows again with the Public Works Department. So as you see on your screen, we have three tax lots, tax lot 2701, 2702, and 2600. Essentially, the first two bullet points on each one have been satisfied. So there actually won't be a restriction on 2701. Our office was able to do a sewer study and determine that we're okay with the zone change as regard to items 1 and 2 on that parcel. As far as items 1 and 2 on 2702, the sewer still needs to extend to the property boundary for this to work, so that still will be a restriction. And the same for parcel 2600. Items 1 and 2 have been satisfied. Sewer still needs to be extended to the property boundary. So,
Okay,
and
so
then plus there's the
that
traffic
sounds-
restrictions too. So
Yeah, that sounds pretty simple.
very simple, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. All right. With that, we will open the public hearing and ask the applicant's agent to come forward and tell us about the project.
Good evening, Chair McKechnie, Planning Commission. For the record, my name is Jay Harlan with CSA Planning with offices at 4497 Brown Ridge here in Medford. I don't have a lot to add. I think Dustin did a good job explaining the requested zone change, and Doug did a good job explaining the sewer thing. Essentially, the little more background there is that the original sewer master plan showed there's a big deficiency problem down on Delta Waters. I think it's called Project P25. Sadly, I know all this off the top of my head now, but that project is bid and is under construction, and that one is a problem for a whole bunch of different areas. But it's built. It's getting built now. But the master plan showed a couple other more minor pipe segments between this project and that project as being deficient, but the city updated its model since that plan, and Elena, the utilities engineer in Public Works, reran it. And there's also been the way the previous subdivision has been developed, some of the areas that the prior master plan assumed were going to go into one basin are now going into another. And so she reran the model for those two areas, and in fact, all the area, and worked with the project engineer, Tony Bacchi at CEC Engineering, and worked out how the sewer will go for this area. And with those changes, she reran the model and showed that there wouldn't be any exceedances. So it's not actually a capacity issue. All that's remaining for sewer is basically we're just zoning ahead of the physical development. So the sewer lines don't actually touch the property line, some of the property lines yet. And until that happens, then they apply this restricted zoning because it's like technically the sewer isn't there yet for vertical construction. So it really amounts to a technicality. So, I mean, it's a good one to, so that somebody knows like, hey, sewer isn't here yet, but beyond that, it really doesn't, it's not doing a lot. So with that, that's really the only issue. We were fine with the transportation conditions, and Kim Parducci with Southern Oregon Transportation Engineering did a great job, analyzed all the things, and Public Works was fine with the conclusions and the recommended conditions. So with that, I would just request approval of the zone change.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant? Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. So do we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak regarding this application? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. Staff have any additional comments? Engineering or fire, anything additional? Okay. Then I am assuming you don't need rebuttal time, so we will close the public hearing. And do we have a motion for consideration?
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the findings as recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare the final order for approval of ZC-25-149 per the staff report dated July 3rd, 2025, including Exhibits A through Q, with Exhibit N to be replaced with Exhibit N1, and removal of the EA overlay over the subject area pursuant to MLDC 10.360 sub 3.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Kaylee, can we have a roll call, please?
Jeff Thomas,
Yes.
EJ McManus,
Yes.
Jim Wallen,
Yes.
David Culbertson,
Yes.
Brad Bennington,
Yes.
Mark McKechnie.
Yes.
We have 6 yeses
Thank
and
you.
1
Motion
abstention.
passes. Good luck with your project. Okay, moving on to agenda item 50.4, SV 25-172, consideration of a request for the vacation of portions of East 3rd Street extending between North Bartlett Street and East Jackson Street, and Apple Street extending between East 3rd Street and East 4th Street. The subject rights-of-way are within the CC zoning district. The applicant is Mira. The agent is Scott Center Consulting. The planner is Stefan Ronfeld. Just let me get back here. We probably should do this anyway. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact to disclose regarding this application? And as everybody is eminently tired of hearing me say so, Mr. Sinner is my next door neighbor, but it is not going to affect my decision on this application. Okay, with that, again, Stefan, stand in.
Hopefully I'll do a better job this time.
No,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're doing an excellent job.
Kelly Aiken again with your planning department. So this one actually should be pretty fast. It sounds like it should be complex, but I think it's much simpler than the Comise subdivision. This is an application for our urban renewal agency to vacate bits of 3rd and Apple in our downtown. And as always, we start with the approval criteria. This is vacation of a public right-of-way. The criteria are found in Land Development Code Section 10.228, and they point to the state statute, ORS 271. And there are 4 statutory requirements in for vacations. One is that notice is required. No action can be taken before the hearing date. No action can be taken if a majority of affected owners object, and no vacation is allowed without the consent of the abutting owners. So at this point in time, staff has found that these criteria have been satisfied. Authority for right-of-way vacations. It is a type 4 quasi-judicial decision. I thought these were legislative. I think it's a legislative decision. At any rate, Planning Commission, you act as an advisory body to the City Council, and the Council is the approving authority. We'll wrap that up before we get to hearing, which happens on August the 6th. So the City Council did take action to initiate the vacation and set the public hearing date a couple weeks ago on July the 2nd, and the hearing is scheduled on August the 6th. where are we? We are in the heart of downtown. We're at Riverside and Jackson, just to the south west of that. The comprehensive plan designation is commercial. The zoning is community commercial. And there are so many overlays. We list the downtown parking district, but there's also the airport area of concern. It's within the central business district. There's all kinds of overlays there. One overlay that it is not in, which is kind of a good thing, is the historic district. It's just north. That's what the purple boundary is. That's the downtown historic district. So why are we even doing this? In April, the Site Plan and Architectural Commission approved a 4-story hotel with 134 guest rooms on property adjacent on both sides of Apple Street and south of 3rd Street. As a condition of approval, the applicant was required to apply for this vacation, so that's why we're here this evening. The vacated rights-of-way will become part of the hotel property, the church to the north, which I'll show you in just a second, and also the auto dealer that's adjacent just across Apple. Public rights-of-way, when they're vacated, the ownership reverts to centerline. So wherever there's a center line, it splits evenly to the adjoining property owners. It can be found that Mira owns the majority of the abutting properties, and we've had, Mr. Bryce has had numerous discussions with other abutting property owners. The Living Waters Church, the Cannabis Experience, and Soul Savers are the businesses that are affected. To ensure that access is provided to those businesses, the adjacent property owners consented to the vacation, so consent from the affected owners is defined to those 400 feet laterally from the vacated areas wasn't included in the application. I wanted to share this with you. So the block in yellow is the hotel site. 3rd Avenue to the north will be vacated at the center line, so the north half will become the church property, and they'll continue to use that for access as a driveway. That short arrow pointing to the Cannabis Experience business, I understand that there's going to be a little bit of property line adjusting there, so they'll be able to retain access from 4th. And then the auto dealership, I'm sorry, is that from Jackson, excuse me, 4th is on the south. The car dealership will maintain access from the south. I believe that's correct. And with that, staff did review the applicant's findings, and we concur with their conclusions. And so staff is recommending approval, and I'm happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of staff on this one? Okay, not seeing any.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, with that, we will open the public hearing and ask the agent to come forward and talk about the project.
Okay.
Sure, that's fine, thank you. Good afternoon, Commission. I'm Scott Center, Scott Center Consulting, Inc., 4401 San Juan Drive, Medford. I'm representing Mura here.
Oh, Mike. There we go.
Start over? Or did you get my name? Okay. Okay. This is one of those situations where when we go down the elevator, my applicant will say, well, I could have done that. So this meets all the submittal requirements. It meets all of the approval requirements for your approval. We've got certain easements that we'll be providing. We've read through all of the agency reports, and we're comfortable with those. And we would request your recommendation for approval to the City Council. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. Center, you referred to easements. Where will these easements be located?
So we've done surveys. The primary easement is going to be a pedestrian access easement parallel to the church on 3rd, and that's a requirement to meet block length for the 10.426. And then we have identified any utilities that are in the public rights-of-way being vacated, and we'll assure that any easements are retained or revised to reflect the current conditions.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions on that, right? Yes, sir.
The only question I had is in the staff report, they were talking about there was going to be a lot line adjustment for access. Is that something you're working with them on, or?
Not yet, but so what we are doing is we're vacating the entire right-of-way all the way up to the very tippy top of the arrow on Jackson. And with the vacation of right-of-way, the property goes to the property that it came from. And the church has a straight line going all the way out to the apex of that triangle up there. And in order for Cannabis to maintain an access, Harry has negotiated to work with the church, work with Cannabis to provide a future property line adjustment that'll be reviewed by staff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That was tough. I answered a tough one there.
He needed you after all. Okay, and I assume you wish to reserve time for rebuttal?
Reserve time for rebuttal and request your approval.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak regarding this application? Okay. Then, does staff have any additional comments?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay, engineering or fire have anything to? No, thank you, Chair. All right, I guess you don't need time for rebuttal, so we will close the public hearing. And do we have a motion for consideration?
Mr. Chair, based on the findings and conclusions that all the approval criteria are met or not applicable, forward a favorable recommendation to the City Council for approval of SV-25-172 per the staff report dated July 3rd, 2025, including Exhibits A through L.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, Kaylee, can we have a roll call, please?
Jared Pulver,
Yes.
EJ McManus,
Yes.
Mark McKechnie,
Yes.
Brad Bennington,
Yep.
David Culbertson,
Yes.
Jim Wallen,
Yes.
Jeff Thomas.
Yes.
We have 7 yeses.
Thank you. Motion passes. Good luck with your project. Okay, and that concludes tonight's public hearings. Moving on to item 60.1, Transportation Commission, Mr. Pulver.
We have not met in the last 2 weeks.
Okay. 60.2, Site Plan and Architectural Commission, Mr. Thomas.
We have not met since our last meeting.
Wow. All right, Planning Commission, Department, beg your pardon, Ms. Aiken.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I am still Kelly Aiken from your Planning Department. A couple things for you. Your study session for Monday was moved. We pushed it back 2 weeks. So we'll be meeting on the 28th. We're going to talk about our economic opportunity analysis. We do have business for your next 2 meetings. That's July 24 and August 14th. Let's see, City Council last week, they initiated a couple vacations, including the one that was before you tonight. Next week, they're going to talk about fees. So Planning Department's fees are going to be increasing. There was a regular, I think it was a 2.5% across the board adjustment that took effect in July, and they're adjusting our Planning Department fees. So more coming on that. And also, I wanted to introduce, if they're still here,
He's not here.
Kate Harper is with us in the audience, if you're wondering who this lovely young lady is. She's interning in our department for us. So we're happy to have her here experiencing the public process. And I think Israel left, yes? Yeah, he did. Okay.
Her last name's Harper?
Yes.
Any relation to Alan Harper?
I don't know.
Just curious.
That's her dad. So now we know.
Oh, there you go.
I was not aware. Anyways, I think that's all. Well, one other thing I did want to mention, he was here at the very beginning and left. Our new Public Works Director, Dan Worth, was also, had showed up for a few minutes and bailed on us. But at any rate, that's what I have.
Yeah.
I know. Unless you have
Apparently
questions
we weren't
for
providing
me.
a good enough time for.
Well, you know.
Kelly, I have a question for you. So
Yes, sir.
I don't know, it was probably Stefan's handiwork, but on item 50.2 in some of staff's comments, there was a little bit of color commentary about Comi's pears, and I didn't know if that was him or you, and if that was because we were lacking in Trivial Pursuit knowledge or what.
That was definitely not me. I did review it and say, well, there's nothing offensive in there, so that's good. It all kind of started because we weren't sure how to pronounce Comise. That's how it started. And so, you know, having the history of the name in the pear orchard is not a bad thing. So, yes,
Great,
it was a
thank
little
you.
color this time. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Messages and papers from the chair, nothing from me. Remarks from the city attorney.
Nothing?
All right. Propositions or remarks from commission members. Seeing none, we are adjourned.